everyone! Sir Historious here! Welcome back to History's Turning Point, the channel where we explore the biggest events, mysteries, and moments that changed our world forever! Today, we're diving into one of the most puzzling disappearances in modern history! A moment that left experts, pilots, and even entire countries scratching their heads! The story of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370! How does a giant passenger plane simply vanish? Well, strap on your explorer gear because this mystery has twists, clues, and theories that will blow your mind! It was just after midnight on March 8, 2014! A Boeing 777, one of the world's most reliable and advanced aircraft, took off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, heading for Beijing, China. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Everything seemed perfectly normal. The plane climbed to its cruising altitude, the weather was clear, and the pilots were experienced. Captain Zahir Yamad Shah was a veteran with over 18,000 flight hours. His co-pilot, Farik Abdul Hamid, was on his final training flight before becoming fully certified on the 777. About 40 minutes into the flight, as the plane was about to cross from Malaysian airspace into Vietnamese airspace. Over the South China Sea, something strange happened. The last verbal communication came from the cockpit. The voice, believed to be the co-pilot, said, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those were the last words ever heard from the flight. Just minutes later, the plane's transponder, the device that transmits its location and altitude to air traffic control, suddenly went silent. The plane vanished from civilian radar screens. It was like a ghost, but it wasn't completely gone. Military radar continued to track an unidentified aircraft for another hour. This aircraft wasn't following its planned route to Beijing. Instead, it made a sharp, deliberate turn back across the Malaysian peninsula, flying west. It then turned again, heading northwest over the Andaman Sea before disappearing from military radar range as well. So what happened in that cockpit? Why the sudden change of direction? Why the radio silence? This is where the mystery deepens. The world woke up to the shocking news. A massive passenger jet was missing. An unprecedented international search and rescue operation began, initially focused on the South China Sea where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. Ships and planes from dozens of countries scoured the waters, but they found nothing. Absolutely no debris, no oil slicks, nothing to suggest a crash. Then, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a British satellite company called Inmarsat. Their satellite had been receiving automated pings or handshakes from the plane for hours after it vanished from radar. These pings didn't give a precise location, but they provided crucial data. By analyzing the time it took for the pings to travel between the satellite and the aircraft, investigators could calculate the plane's distance from the satellite. This created a possible flight paths or arcs, one heading north over Central Asia and another heading south deep into the remote southern Indian Ocean. The northern route seemed unlikely. It would have required the plane to fly over numerous countries with heavy military radar coverage, like India and Pakistan, without being detected. So, the focus shifted dramatically to the southern arc. The search area moved to a vast, desolate stretch of the Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers southwest of Australia. This is one of the most remote and treacherous parts of the planet. The ocean here is incredibly deep, with powerful currents and brutal weather. It's often called the Roaring Forties for a reason. Imagine searching for a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is the size of a continent, and it's constantly moving, and it's miles deep. That was a challenge facing the search teams. For nearly 3 years, underwater drones and sonar equipment methodically scanned a massive 120 square kilometer area of the seafloor. They created detailed maps of underwater mountains and canyons that had never been seen before. But they didn't find the plane. The official, multi-million-dollar search was eventually suspended in January 2017, leaving the families of the passengers and crew in agonizing uncertainty. But the story doesn't end there. In July 2015, more than a year after the disappearance, a piece of aircraft debris washed up on the shores of Reunion Island, a small French island east of Madagascar. It was a flaperon, a part of the wing. Investigators confirmed it was from a Boeing 777, and the serial numbers matched those of MH370. This was the first, and so far, the only confirmed piece of the plane ever found. Since then, more than 20 other pieces of suspected or confirmed debris have washed ashore on the coasts of Africa, in places like Mozambique, Tanzania, and Mauritius. These discoveries confirmed that the plane did indeed go down in the Indian Ocean, validating the satellite data. Ocean current analysis helped narrow down the potential crash site, suggesting it might be slightly north of the original search area. This led to a private search effort by a company called Ocean Infinity in 2018, but data came up empty-handed. So, with all this information, what are the leading theories about what actually happened to MH370? Let's break them down. One of the most prominent theories is a deliberate act by one of the pilots, often called the pilot suicide theory. Proponents of this theory point to the plane's precise, intentional movements after it lost contact, the turn back, the flight along a known airway, and the subsequent path south all suggest someone with expert knowledge was in control. Some investigators have pointed to the pilot, Captain Zahari, suggesting he may have been experiencing personal problems. A flight simulator found in his home had a flight path plotted that was similar to the plane's final journey into the southern Indian Ocean. Though this has been debated, this theory is devastating for the pilot's family and remains unproven. But it's one that many experts believe best fits the available evidence. Another theory is a hijacking or an act of terrorism. Could someone else have taken control of the plane? This seems less likely for a few reasons. Firstly, no group has ever claimed responsibility, which is unusual for a terrorist act of this scale. Secondly, the flight path seems more like a slow, deliberate journey to nowhere rather than a flight towards a specific target. There was no communication, no demands, just silence. Then there's the possibility of a catastrophic mechanical failure or an on-board fire. Perhaps a fire in the electronics may have knocked out the communication systems and transponder, and the pilots were trying to turn back to the nearest suitable airport. In this scenario, the crew and passengers might have been incapacitated by smoke or depressurization, leaving the plane to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. This is known as a ghost flight. This could explain the silence, but it doesn't fully explain the deliberate-looking turns the plane made. A simple fire wouldn't necessarily lead to such a specific flight path. And of course, there are the more fringe theories. Was it shot down? Was it carrying secret cargo? Was it hidden away at a remote airfield? These ideas are popular online, but lack any credible evidence. The confirmed debris washing up in Africa makes a secret landing scenario almost impossible. The disappearance of MH370 has had a profound impact. For the families of those on board, the lack of answers is a source of unending pain. Without a crash site, without their loved ones, they can't find closure. It has also changed the aviation industry forever. In response, new regulations are being put in place. Aircraft are now required to report their position every 15 minutes, and new planes will have systems that can't be manually disabled from the cockpit. The goal is to ensure that a plane can never simply vanish again. But the central mystery remains. We have clues, we have data, we have theories. But we don't have the plane, the black boxes, the flight data recorder, and cockpit voice recorder are likely lying somewhere on the bottom of the Indian Ocean. They hold the definitive answers too. Why the plane went down, finding them is the key. Recently, new analysis of acoustic signals detected by underwater microphones around the time of the crash has suggested a new potential search area, fueling calls to restart the search. Will we ever find MH370? It's hard to say. The ocean is vast and unforgiving, but the determination of the families and the curiosity of the world have not faded. The story of MH370 is a chilling reminder of the limits of our technology and a testament to the enduring power of a great mystery. It's a turning point that forced us to confront the fact that even in our hyper-connected world, there are still unknowns, and some questions may never be answered. What do you think happened to the flight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is a case where every theory has its supporters and its holes. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most compelling modern mysteries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into history's turning point. See you next time.